Welcome to Safe Space, a place that's just that safe. A place for women to exchange ideas, encourage, and just be there for one another. Good evening, Safe Space family. We're here this afternoon with a can do woman, Judy McMurtry. There's so many There's so many ways to describe Judy. Judy has talents in every area that I've ever seen her operate. She's great at organization. She's great at making sure we all know to speak those things as though they are. That is her mantra. Judy is a 33 and a half year employee of the airline industry, 31 of those years with Delta Airlines in a supervisory.
It was something about sitting on that airplane.
Judy McMurtry of Delta also developed a love for flying at a young age on a school field trip to the airport. That love spawned a lifelong devotion to the industry. She rose through the ranks, starting in reservations, then customer service, and eventually management.
I'm a make it happen kind of person, so you may tell me no, not at this time or something, but I'm like, it's got to be a way.
McMurtry recognizes how unique it is to have women at a busy hub like Philadelphia running the majority of the airlines. She says the women here support each other.
We have a common goal. It's our customers.
Judy also is a facilitator of the Think and Grow Rich course, which I had the pleasure of being a part of, and I have diligently tried to make large parts of what I learned a part of my day-to-day activity, to visualize, speak those things into existence in some of the most simple ways from people like Carnegie, so the inventor Edison, those things that they use to bring themselves from literally rags to riches. And not only riches, to be people that were impactful to help others. You have to be in a position yourself to help someone else.
Absolutely.
Judy, tell us a little bit about your personal life.
Well, my personal life, I was born and raised in Detroit. And my parents, they were not really highly educated, maybe no more than a high school education. And I have 4 siblings. So I was the middle child. And when I was a child growing up, I remember taking a field trip to the airport. And man, I was set on that plane. That was it. It was all over for me. God gave me that vision at the time that I was going to travel the world.
How old were you?
I was like 7 years old.
Wow.
When he gave me that vision that I was going to travel the world, I didn't know how it was going to come to fruition. And I kind of lost it as I was growing up and when I graduated high school. But one day a salesperson knocked on the door from Wilmabord Career School in Pennsylvania. And I begged my mom to allow me to go to school. It was 3 months. And I went to this travel school and my journey began. I ended up getting hired eventually at Northwest Airlines in Detroit as a part-time reservation agent.
Okay.
And then at that point, I moved up the ladder. I became a customer service agent, an instructor, and I specialized even back then in diversity, equity, and inclusion. But it wasn't equity at the time, but they just recently added that. It was really just diversity at the time that I was trained on that back in the 90s, early 90s. So I've been an expert in that area for a very long time.
So to know at 7 years old that was your passion,
yes.
Even though you had to navigate through many things
yes.
and life's journeys to get there, it's so important to me with all of you that I interview on Safe Space that it is first and foremost shown and known that no matter where you may find yourself in your life's journey, in a good place or a bad place or small beginnings or big beginnings, because things can change in your life.
Absolutely.
You can be wealthy and ill,
yes,
and the wealth is useless,
yes,
if you're not using it to help someone.
Oh, absolutely.
So it is important that people realize that even through you telling your story, because at the height of the pandemic, you decided to walk away from a 6-figure position that you had held with Delta for 31 years.
Well, actually, it was a combination. I was with Delta in 2010 when we merged. Northwest and Delta merged.
That's how you got with Delta.
That's how I got with Delta.
Okay.
The merger.
Okay, but the whole through the combination of the two airlines, we're talking 33 and a half years.
33 and a half years.
So 31 of those years you were solidly with Delta. Totally Delta of the 33 and a half. Is that correct?
Of the 33 and a half, about 15 I was with Delta.
Okay, because you 2010.
Yeah.
Okay. So you left Delta in 2020
Mm-hmm.
at the height of the pandemic.
Yes.
A six-figure salary.
Yes.
To do what, Judy?
Well, 2 years prior to that, in 2018, I started my own business. I just was not able to do anything with the business other than learn. Now, I believe in personal growth and personal development. And so what I did was join the John Maxwell team because there was a lot of great leadership development material, coaching, training. So I wanted to become very good at what I do before I stepped out on my own. So at that point, I used that material to train my leaders at Delta because I ran the Philadelphia operation for Delta Airlines and Baltimore for 6 months as well. I ran 2 airports at one point for 6 months. And so I trained the leaders to do my job and help prepare them for their future. And it was very successful. So I knew it was time to branch out on my own. So when the pandemic came, it kind of forced me into going out on my own. I'm like, I heard God's voice say, it's time. It's time to go now. I'm like, well, Lord, it is the pandemic, the COVID. I don't, at this point, but I'm like, nope, I'm stepping out on faith. I'm out.
That was a huge leap
Yes.
of faith.
Yes.
You were living in Philadelphia.
I was living in Philadelphia.
So you just packed up because you heard the voice of
God. I heard the voice so plain and clear. It was time to go. And I followed his lead and I left.
That's a great example of being obedient. It speaks to us clearly in the word. It's just simple. He makes it plain. Obedient is better than sacrifice.
Absolutely.
And to be obedient is a great testament to your faith muscle.
Yes.
Your faith muscle was huge.
Yes.
Which, because I know you, I could see that you did just what you said because you're very matter of fact when it comes to God.
Oh, yes.
And
absolutely.
what his word says.
Yes.
But your faith and your trust is a great example to many people.
Yes.
Because so often I'll see you in situations and people are, for lack of a better term, they're hesitant
Yes.
about taking a leap of faith or doing something that they've clearly heard God tell them to do, but they're afraid.
Yes.
And you'll walk up and say, well, just do it. I mean, and you don't use a lot of words. It's just do it.
Just do
so
it.
you gave away everything in Philadelphia. I've heard you say.
I did. That was another thing. As I was packing up my material possessions, everything, God was like, why are you taking that? Give it away. Bless somebody else with it. I'm like, what? I'm like, yes, Lord, got you. And I did. I blessed some others. I gave it away. I didn't sell it. I literally did what he told me to do. I gave away everything I owned except for what fit in my SUV.
Which is a small SUV.
That's Equinox SUV, correct.
And you left Philadelphia with only what fit in your car.
Yep.
And where did you go?
Initially, for 3 weeks, I went to Detroit because I have a home there, which my son and I share. And he's residing there with my sister and his family. And after that, I drove to El Paso, Texas for about, 6 months. I stayed there for 6 months with a very, very good friend of mine. Because I didn't know where I was going to, I knew I was coming back to Atlanta. Pastor Garman from Word of Faith Love Center, because I used to belong there, well, still, from 2010 to 14.
Until you moved.
Until I moved, but I still live streamed. So I returned, but before I returned, Pastor told me, he sent me an email, do not join another church because you're coming back to Atlanta. I knew I was coming back to Atlanta. I didn't know when, but I knew I was going back to Word of Faith Love Center and work in the church as well and be a part of growth at that place as well, that organization.
So your sole reason of coming back to Atlanta was your church?
Yes, absolutely, because I could do my business anywhere. So it was not the business.
And it wasn't the city?
No. It was Word of Faith Love Center.
That is true a dedication. That is true dedication.
Dedication, but it was truly from the Word of God because I have the email still to this day that Pastor told me I would be back, and I knew I was going to come back. That was confirmation, but I already knew it anyway.
So when you left Texas, you came back here.
I
And
did.
You've been here ever since.
Yes.
Working at the church.
And that was the thing because I don't know anybody outside of the church and Delta, of course, and so I'm like, how do I get to know people? And I wanted to continue my skills. I love growth and personal development and professional development. So you have to keep your skills up. So I'm like, what better place to go is to give your time at the church. So I started working there. Well, actually volunteering. Pastor did not have an administrative assistant at the time. So I said, allow me to come a couple days, answer phones and file, and do a little administrative duties at that point. But I started working so much, I ended up getting paid and I do that as they're my largest client actually. I'm not employed with the church, but I am a consultant with the church. Marketing, social media, events. I coordinate with you with events.
Well, Judy, what is it that JM Excel consultants do? I'm interested to know how you are working on with all of the responsibilities that you've taken on at the church and all the other things that you do with facilitating Think and Grow Rich, which is an 8-week course that you do weekly for those 8 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
What is it that you're doing with JM Excel? I know that while you were in Philadelphia, you had an opportunity to work with Netflix.
Yes.
You also, I had the opportunity to view an interview that you did with an NBC affiliate there in Philadelphia for Women's History Month.
Yes.
What else are you doing with your business, and how overall for this business that God told you to leave, that you stepped out and left this 6-figure job on faith?
Yes.
Tell me about the reason and what it does.
Well, when you're in a corporation, Delta is a wonderful company, but you're confined. I could not help other organizations. And what I do is the same that I would do with what I did at Delta, where I can go into an operation and find out, why are you not growing? What are you stuck at? How do I take you to help you go to another level? I come in and work with your team. So I come in and consult the organizations, and then I do observations with the team as well as see how the leaders are with their teams. And at that point, we'll come up with a strategic plan, but it's not just with the leaders, but it's frontline as well. All of the employee groups work together. And then we'll implement it, and then we'll do an evaluation of it, make sure everything is working well or make any kind of adjustment.
Basically going to organizations, you observe, you come up with areas of improvement
with the team.
From the top to the bottom.
Absolutely.
Which, that's the way it should work in any organization, to make it truly and what I was going for was you deal with a mindset.
Correct. Oh, behavior, mindset, definitely.
So through your observation, you make suggestions from the top of the organization to the front line about mindset and the way they think.
Correct.
Which ties into the Think and Grow Rich.
Yes, it ties into Think and Grow Rich as well, because that's more of a behavior training. And also I'm DISC certified, so I can identify personality types. Sometimes you have someone in a position that is not a good fit, and they're not really growing or not, becoming that high performance employee because of the fact they're misplaced.
I'm very familiar with DISC, and it is also important with DISC, and I do believe what you're saying, because the corporation that I'm employed with has given me DISC twice.
Correct.
And it's probably time again, because I've been there 28 years.
Yes.
And what I can attest to from the side of the person that's taking this is the changes that occurred in me as a person.
Yes.
Because when I initially took it, I was probably late 20s, early 30s. I had very low D, some S, some C, some I, but most high in S and C.
Yes.
Later, I was given the DISC again in my mid 40s. High D.
Dominant.
Very. High D, higher I.
Influence, yeah.
The S and C were still there because that's innately who I am.
Yes.
But I was forced to survive to become
Mhm.
a higher D. And it is important in certain positions
Right.
to realize even that in your customers
Mhm.
or whoever your audience is,
Correct.
that you're aiming to service or please or sell to.
Correct.
So you know how to deal with them. Because if you walk into an office with a D and you're trying to do this long, detailed presentation, you lose them in 3 seconds because Ds don't
No.
communicate that way.
No.
You have to hit the button within a short period of
Oh,
time
yeah,
in the
straight to
beginning
point. Mhm.
with them to hold them and for them to even want to hear the rest of what you're saying.
Correct.
So we're sitting here talking about this DISC profile as if most of our audience is aware of what it is.
Yes.
Can you give a brief, since you're certified in it, description of what it is and how it's used
Mhm.
outside of the way we just described in your business?
Right. D is more like for a dominant personality, someone who's a boss, a leader, someone who's assertive, and they kind of not. I don't want to say pushy or aggressive. They're perceived to be that way, but they know what they want, and
They're
just
straight to the
they're
point
straight to the
people,
point.
and they don't give you a lot of
They
time.
don't give you a lot of time.
They don't give you a lot of time. And just a little overview, a DISC profile is a personality profile test.
Correct.
You take a series of questions, and it qualifies you in a D, an I, a S, or a C.
Correct.
It spells DISC. And those letters determine certain personality traits,
Correct.
such as Ds are determined as dominant people. They are people that are normally decision makers.
Mhm.
You do not have a lot of time with Ds. You need to catch their attention quickly. They're straight to the point.
Mhm.
I's are very detail oriented. They're analytical. And
Eyes are influencers.
Okay.
They love people, and that's what they do. They influence. They bubbly. That's the life of the party.
Now, see,
I
I
is the
remember
life of the
that as
party.
being the S and the C's, but please describe it. 'Cause
S
you're
is steady. That's 70% of the population is an S. And
okay.
they're kind of steady. They go with the flow. Whatever happens, they're good with it.
And
They're more
C.
followers. C's are more so. Think of them. They're compliance. Like engineer is a C because they need details. You gotta give them details.
Those are the details.
Those are the detail people. Are
Okay.
the C's. Correct.
Okay. Well, that is what we're talking about. And I was wanting to know, because Judy is certified in that, how it relates to her business
Correct.
and how you use it along with the other certifications you have to influence businesses and taking them to the next level.
Right. So I can come in and do a DISC assessment on your whole team, and we can determine how many D's you have, I's or S's, like what we just described, and see how they fit within your team. And perhaps we can either move them into a different position if it's available, or it's how you communicate. I could teach each one how to communicate with one another based on their personality type. Then you will understand, oh, that's why that person is so bubbly all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a high DI. So I have to always be conscious of that detail person, or that person who's just is a C, and they're thinkers. They have to process that information first. And I'm like, let's do it. Push the button as a D versus sit back and process it. Okay, think about it. All right. So that's the difference. So I can teach them how to do that. So when you're, interacting with a D and you're an I or a C, or I'll show you what not to say to them, what to say to them, how to talk, and your communication will improve also.
So, Judy, how coming through the time of leaving your job in the middle of a pandemic, a very good job, did God build your faith? Because you had great faith already. How did he comfort you? How did you stay at a place of peace? How did he bring you through that? And this is a two-part question. How did he play into even decisions you had to make once you're here? You were here.
Yes.
Because I've heard you say that your business wasn't moving the way you wanted it to. So you had some financial and different decisions to make that you had not anticipated, but you heard his voice.
Yes.
So I always want my audience to know in every guest how God played into their times of whereas all things were not going their way.
Right.
And sometimes you can find yourself in situations that were totally out of your control, but we need God in all situations.
Absolutely.
And that's what I want them to understand, that there's always hope.
Always.
And that you always lean and look to him no matter what you know or what you don't know. And no matter how dark it is, it's just before the light. If
It's
you
always darkest just before dawn.
And
Absolutely.
sometimes that dawn is not 2 seconds away or 2 minutes away. It may be 2 years away.
Absolutely.
But you have to keep the faith.
Correct.
So how did that play into your journey in this major transition? And where do you see GM Excel Consultant going and how impacting others in the future?
Well, see, the thing is, I already moved past being just successful. I'm significant because I look to help others become successful and significant. So I'm a multiplier. I don't believe in just myself. And yes, I am still in struggle. Every day I'm on my knees. I get up every morning, devotion. I pray. I study the word. But I do a desired statement. I quote it in the morning and I quote it at night. So write the vision and make it plain. And that's where your faith goes. You got to write the vision, make it plain. You quote it in the morning and you quote it at night.
Because we have power.
Life and death is in the power of the tongue. Absolutely. And that's the key piece. That's why I said speak those things that are not as though they were. Because you don't see it, but it's already manifested in the future. It's in the spiritual realm. You're just trying to, faith is, your words activate faith. So in order for you to actually have what you say you want, you have to activate it with your faith. And by knowing that, that's what holds me together. Because right now I'm still in struggle. I don't even like to call it struggle.
I don't either.
I see future.
You're still
I'm
in process.
I'm in transition, and that's it. So it's not struggle, but you do go through the journey. You have your test, and to me, the more powerful or tough your test,
the greater your testimony
and your rewards.
That's right.
Are huge.
That's right.
And I'm going to see it because Bishop Wade had that testimony over me, and God brings people in your life to confirm.
And he sends confirming words. Yes. That was a great way. But he sends them in subtle ways.
Yes, he does.
That was very overt and out there.
Yep.
But he sends them in subtle ways, and we have to pay attention.
Yes, we do.
Sometimes it's as subtle as you have a quiet moment with him or a private conversation with him, and you'll pick up a devotion, and it'll speak to the thing.
Oh, my goodness. You'll open that Bible, and it's right that scripture you need to hear right then and there on the spot, and that's it. Because the one I also listen to a lot, never seen the righteous forsaken nor the seed of God begging bread.
That's right. That's
right. So you already know that God says, speak, I'll give you the desires of your heart. What is your desire? Most people don't know.
Just seek
That's
him
why
first.
they do not receive what their blessings. Yeah, seek ye the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you.
That's right.
Exactly. But most people don't know what they want. They don't write the vision. They don't make it plain, and they're wishy-washy. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. So if you want this one day and then want this the next day and then you're switching.
But I think that's because they're afraid. Our pastor has been preaching on a series about help me with my unbelief.
Yes.
So, and that's a prayer that we all need to pray,
Absolutely.
especially if you find yourself here today, over here tomorrow, over here, because it doesn't happen fast enough. And people are in a place of need or desperation, and just sometimes simply their day-to-day needs are not being met.
Yeah.
And they're trying everything. They're working hard, and they're saying, God, where are you?
But
I need you now.
Yeah.
But for the mere fact that they're still holding on, he's there.
Correct.
But he's not coming in the time and in the way we want, because we're still in need and we're still in process, and we become afraid.
Yeah.
That's why we have to feed our spirit man enough to supersede our flesh man.
Absolutely.
It has to win every time. So that's why the habits that you teach and that you're speaking of now, that you exercise in your own life, is so important. That you write the vision and you make it plain and you stick to it no matter what
happens. No matter
if you believe this is indeed your destiny and your place. Because as a person, I'm speaking from personal experience, I have had dreams and things that I wanted to follow, and they still haven't manifested. I'm 54.
I'm 60.
But I believe. Just sitting here with you today has been a dream of mine.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's coming to fruition. And I believe that it's going to be meaningful.
Yes.
It is going to be impactful.
Yes.
And it's going to bless people to know and understand that there's always hope. Always believe in God. always know that He's there, and always know that if you believe it and confess it with your mouth, He is faithful and true to bring it to fruition.
Absolutely.
No matter how long it takes. And He can restore time.
Yes,
He can do anything but fail if we just believe. And He's given us so much power that I'm still learning to exercise.
Mm-hmm.
Because you get beaten down with life,
Yeah.
and in the process, and you can become afraid and basically give up and just exist.
Yeah.
But that's not what He meant for us.
I know. But see, and another thing that gives me faith and hope as well, that one divine connection. All it takes is one
Person.
divine connection.
Change the world.
That's it.
Change your whole world.
Yeah.
And I pray for divine
Yes.
relationships
Yes.
and divine connections, for people to be sent into my life that are connected to my destiny,
Absolutely.
the one in which He birthed me in this earth for.
Amen.
Because we all were birthed here for a reason.
We interdependent on each other.
That is correct. That is correct. Judy, I'm so glad that you took this time to come and talk to us today
Thank you for
here at
inviting me.
Safe Space.
Yes.
Please let everyone know your business, where they can find you, all of your information. You never know who's watching that may need you to come in, whether it be a city, municipality, or a personal business. You are like the fixer.
Make it happen.
Yeah.
Yes. Judy McMurtry is my name at JM Excel Consultant, LLC, and I can be located under Judy JM at excelwithjudy.com. Again, JM at excelwithjudy.com.
We'll make sure that this information will be in the credits of the end of the show,
Yes.
with the information of the production company and the name of Safe Space.
Absolutely.
Is
Thank
there
you.
anything else you'd like us to know?
No, just, I hate to say this, keep hope alive. Just keep hope alive, and really have faith in God and believe in yourself, because we are all uniquely, wonderfully created. And if we all understand that and operate in our gift that God has blessed us, who He's blessed us to be, you too will be successful, period, because that's what He created you to be. It's no doubt you will be successful.
I have to say this, I wasn't going to mention, but we're being hosted today by a gracious host. Furniture Expressions in Fayetteville, Georgia, allowed us to do our taping here today. Their website is furnitureexpressions.com. Yes, I plugged Furniture Expressions. And we want to thank them for allowing us to tape here today, along with my wonderful production company. You'll see all of the information, as I said, in the credits. Thank you all again for giving us your time, stopping by Safe Space. Let us know if there are any questions or information or anything that you need. Just plug it in. We're right now on Facebook under Shelby Arrington, All About Safe Space, and also Instagram. I know I've been promising you more platforms, and I promise they're coming. But thank you for watching. Thank you for allowing us to speak to you. God bless, and you all have a wonderful day.